So let's welcome them today.
Good morning. Good morning. Excited to be here this morning. See a few familiar faces.
Yeah.
Scott and, yeah, you guys.
Scott Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie.
Brother John, don't forget that. Yeah, shut there.
But, I want to thank Pastor Kirk for inviting me here, inviting Sharon and I here. And again, thank you all for allowing us to come this morning and talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts, this Rural Family Kids Camp. And when I was talking to Pastor Kurt about coming out, he said, how much time can you talk about kids camp? I can do 2-3 hours easy.
So get comfortable.
I'll give you a little bit of the abbreviated version, a little bit quite that long. But I want to give you just a brief history of Rural Family Kids Camp, how it started. It started back in like 1985. There was an assistant pastor at a church in Costa Mesa, California. His name was Wayne Tesh. And inner city church. He saw a need for a ministry for children that are in the foster program. These kids have been abused, abandoned, neglected. And there was a real need that he saw for this camp, and he was trying to figure out a way to bring God into their lives, to show them God's love. So him and his wife Diane came up with this idea for Royal Family Kids Camp. So started in 1985, so we're celebrating our 40th year. We don't see a lot. We don't do any advertising. We kind of maintain a low profile. We're kind of shared the way we're doing here this morning. Christian to Christian, church to church. Because the volunteers that we want faith-based volunteers. And again, what we're doing, we always have to be cognizant of child predators. So we kind of maintain a low profile when it comes to asking people to help, asking people to volunteer. But again, started in 1985. The organization has grown tremendously. We have over 200 camps located across the United States. We have 3 in Pennsylvania right now. We had 4 up until about 2 years ago. There was a camp in Lawrence County where actually our directors, Kim and Tyler Luke, where they initially started to volunteer for kids camp. Unfortunately, that camp had to shut down because they had no volunteers. Our camp is all volunteer-based. So, again, we're down to 3 camps now in Pennsylvania, about 200 across the United States. Again, we started off as Rural Family Kids Camp. In 2020, we actually didn't change, but they changed the name of the corporation, our umbrella corporation, For the Children. Rural Family Kids Camp is very, very specific. We minister to children ages 7 to 11. By changing the corporation to For the Children, it allows us to continue to mentor these children through adulthood. So I'm just going to run you a few statistics here. Right now there's about 12,000 kids in Pennsylvania that are in the foster program. Across the United States, 400 to 500,000. The latest numbers for Armstrong County were about 70 children are in the foster program. And the statistics for these children, if they aren't adopted by a loving family or have loving foster parents throughout their childhood, their statistics, they don't have a very good outcome. We call it aging out of the program. If they've never been adopted by a loving family, it's called aging out. They turn 18. They're basically out on the street. They're on their own. And the statistics are just staggering for these people. Most of the young women are like 2.5 more times likely to be pregnant by the age of 19. Nearly half of the kids who age out of foster program won't finish high school. A lot of the males will end up incarcerated. found a very disturbing statistic as I was going, doing some research to get my numbers, make sure my numbers were correct now. 80% of the death row population were formerly in foster care. That just blew me away when I saw that. You know, 80%. It's unbelievable. So, what do we do at Rural Family Kids Camp? Our goal with these children is to change the trajectory of the kids that are in the foster program. That we're not seeing these young women become pregnant. We're not seeing these young men end up incarcerated or worse yet on death row. Ages 7 to 11, the children are very impressionable. They're very resilient. So our goal through that week is to show them God's love, to teach them God's word, to let them be kids again. You know, a lot of these children, maybe you've seen some, they're 10, 11 years old. They're taking care of younger siblings because their parents are maybe, who knows, sitting in a bar somewhere, all hopped up on drugs, and they're not taking care of their children, so the older sibling becomes the parent. We call it being parentified. We see a number of children, we've seen a number of children over our years at camp that have been in that situation. So that's our initial goal. That's our mission with Rural Family Kids Camp. So every year we have a different theme. Last year's theme was I am wonderfully made. And Psalm 139, verse 14 was our memory verse. I praise you for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. By the end of the week, all the kids knew that verse by heart. This year, our theme is following new blueprints. So I'm not sure what our memory verse is because we haven't got our curriculum yet. We'll be getting that shortly, but I do know what the theme is going to be. We have different themes that we rotate through. I think we have about 6 or 7 themes now. So if we have a child from 7 to 11, we have it for 5 years, they see a different theme every year. And there's, you know, we have different curriculum, we have different programs that we put on that are all tied to that particular theme. We had one, our very first year was called The Good Shepherd. Pretty simple one. We put on we call it a drama. It's a little play that the staff, counselors, mainly staff, put on for the children. And I was doing our training. I'll get into the training a little further on, but I was doing training, and my particular section of training was team building. And in that, incorporated into that, was getting out of your comfort zone. I can tell you right now, standing up here, I'm in a comfort zone. But God will see you through that. But I just finished my presentation on getting out of your comfort zone, and our director for our play walked up to me and she said, "You're Shep. I can see you being Shep in our play." I said, "Mandy, I've never been in a play in my life." And it's like, what am I going to do? Well played, Mandy. You know, I wasn't comfortable doing that, but you know, hey, we do what we have to do. It's all about the kids. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of what camp is all about. I'll get into it a little deeper. Right now I'm going to invite Sharon to come up, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about the mission aspect of camp.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us in this morning. I've already thanked you, but it's great to be here, see some familiar faces and meet some new faces. So it'd be a glorious day in the Lord with all the sunshine. As he said, our heart is for Royal Family Kids Camp. We had never heard about it before. Tyler and Kim had brought it to our church and to the church's attention. So, and it's been a really great experience for us. It's what, 6 years now that we've been doing it. Yeah, going on 7. I'm going to share with you beginning scripture, Matthew 28:18-19. I think everybody knows that one. It's called the Great Commission. Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth, and therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. I'm sure everybody recognizes the Great Commission that he gave to his disciple. And you might be asking yourself why I'm talking about missions instead of Royal Family Kids Camp, but they're combined. It's a local missions ministry is what it is. I had attended a church for 30 plus years and held all the different offices on the council and all that. Never thought I'd have a chance to serve in the mission field. Never thinking that right outside our door is the mission field. We always think of it as Brother Chuck as he goes and travels and that kind of thing. But I've been there, like I said, for 30 years and never thought that I'd get a chance to be on a mission field. So Rural Family is very much a local mission that's provided an opportunity for me to serve, even though I didn't do it. It is a foreign culture because to a lot of us, and like with us, we never realized everything that goes on in the foster system and some of the things that the children have to endure. So it is a foreign culture, and sometimes we get so wrapped up in our day-to-day experiences and what our plan is, and sometimes we just need to step back and be still for a minute and let God show us where He wants us to go.
You might need that.
Oh, okay.
Can you take it? I'm gonna just make for a little while. Is that okay?
Sure. Okay.
Sharon, I think it's just gonna help.
Okay, all right. We get so wrapped up in our own plan, as I was saying, that we forget to look to God and see where He wants us to be. And that's where He will bless that ministry if we look to Him for the leading on His part. Last year's 1 week camp was made up of volunteers from 10 different denominations and 12 different churches. Most of them Armstrong County churches. Each church represented by the volunteers, and your church here. You all have a God-given gift. And we are God's hands and we are His feet. And if we combine those giftings with the churches working together, God can do great things for these campers. God created the family unit as a way of passing His values on to the next generation. But I'm sure most of you, or most of us, can think back to many great memories or holiday traditions with our parents or grandparents. Some of us can remember having prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance in school at one time. But in many of today's families, God's been forgotten or totally shut out by disbelief and sin. In this broken world we live in, God's values have been forgotten by most. There are many broken people with broken lives today. And this brokenness will affect many generations to come unless we take the time to do something about it. They become adult members of our society, and we can see where our society has been heading recently, last, say, generation. The book of James has a portion of scripture that I like to use. It's chapter 1, verse 27. Now this is the Passion Translation, but I like the way it expresses what the idea is behind it. True spirituality that is pure in the eyes of our Father God is to make a difference in the lives of the orphans and widows in their troubles and to refuse to be corrupted by the world's values. A little bit of information. True spirituality in Aramaic means true ministry. And the Greek word for orphans is orphanos. And orphanos translates into the fatherless or the comfortless. And I believe that describes our campers, that they're the orphans in our community, and we don't even think about it. Mostly because they've been taken away from everything and everyone that they love. Whether it was just a pet, or whether it's their parents, or brothers and sisters. We had a little girl, or one family, that one little girl came, and the next year, her two brothers were able to come. They were all three in different foster homes. And they were so looking forward to kids camp because they got to see each other for that week and spend time together and enjoy each other before all the bad things happen. So that's just one of the things that blesses your heart whenever you get there and you see the stories behind the scenes. So as God's church, and with His help, we can play a big part in turning that brokenness around, one person at a time and one child at a time. Royal Family Kids Camp is different than a youth group or a Bible school program. Royal Family Kids Camp is an opportunity to make a lasting difference for the broken children in our community. It's not about the busyness of the week-long activities. We found a new camp last year, and it's got all these activities that is like ponies to ride, and there's a swimming pool, and there's miniature golf, and they can ride bikes. We take our own bikes along, and they can ride bikes on the trails and things. Some of the kids learn how to ride bike that week. If that's what they want to do, that's what we let them do. We let them make their choices, because too many times they don't have a choice. They get told where to go and what to do and how to do it. But for that week, we just spoil them, and they have a great time. So, like I said, it's not about the busyness, but it's the way our staff members and counselors can help the campers know what God's love is, show God's love, and even our relationships with the other staff members. The kids are watching, and they see the difference in how you act when you have Christ in your life, and it makes a difference to them. Jim shared about one of the themes, a couple of the themes, but I remember the one a couple of years ago was Joseph's story, and how something that man means for bad, that God can use it for good and for His glory. The kids get so, and he talks about the dramas, the kids get so enthralled in those stories, they leave them hanging on a cliffhanger every day. At the end of the day, they'll say, "Are you going to do this every day?" Because they're anxious to hear more. And it's a Bible story. It's a play that they do up on the stage, and it's nothing, it's not Hollywood production, but the kids they love it, and they get the meanings behind it. So Royal Family Kids Camp provides hundreds of teachable moments between our staff members and the campers, and the goal is to change the direction of their lives. Please consider serving on this mission field for 1 week. If you can't volunteer, or you're physically not able, or can't get away from your job for that week, if you can't volunteer as a counselor or staff member, there's other ways to get involved, and I think Jim's going to talk a little bit about that. You can help with, my biggest thing is fundraising. If you have a heart for helping with fundraising, or just extra hands makes it, because makes it great, because we raise all of our own money. We're not funded by the government because it's a faith-based program. So if you can sacrifice some time, or if we have a hoagie sale, if you're pretty good at selling hoagies, like the Mariana's hoagies or that type of thing, that's the way you can help, because the camp, last year I think it was a little under, but the cost for the camp was about $30,000. But we pay the way for all the volunteers, and so if you wanted to volunteer, you just have to have the time to be able to, get away from work or whatever. But everybody's way is paid, campers and the staff members. Or you can become a member of the prayer team, which is a great thing. We have a sign-up sheet back there that you can sign up for. But if you want to be part of the prayer team, you'll get somebody assigned to you, one of the staff members, and even maybe one of the campers by first name, that you can be praying for them and for God's blessing on them that week. So you don't even have to leave comfort or get home. You can help that way. So, I can tell you that, yes, like anyone who has ever been on a mission field, that Royal Family will change your life. You come home and it's amazing, just like when you return from a foreign mission field. I've heard people saying, I left all the clothes and shoes in my suitcase. I come home with an empty suitcase because of the need and the country they had been in. But when you get back, it has changed you. It'll change your life to see these kids. We had a little girl a few years ago. She got off the bus. She didn't want to be there. They forced her on the bus. And she was, not very happy about it. But she got off the bus. And when the kids get off the bus, we do high fives and we do like a human tunnel and we cheer them on and have a big poster with their name and just make it all about them and make them feel special. And this little girl got off the bus and walked with her head down. All the way to the end, she wouldn't make eye contact or anything. And she was very withdrawn. But that evening, the counselors in her cabin for over an hour used a whole bottle of detangler because at the back of her head was this big mass of just wadded hair. Like nobody had brushed it and her hair was long. And it took them over an hour and they got her hair all brushed out and they braided it, French braided it real pretty for her for the week. And it was amazing, but we have a tea party for the girls and she was the only camper girl at her tea party. And the counselors and staff members that sat with her, they made it all about her. What kind of tea do you want? What do you like? Made her they just blessed her. And Thursdays, we have a talent show, and kids or the staff members or whatever can be in the talent show every Thursday, or that Thursday. And by that Thursday, I was sitting at the back of the room with my ankle propped up because my foot was swollen, but there's this little girl, the same little girl that had gotten off the bus and was just not even making eye contact with anybody. She was twirling around like a ballerina and had the biggest smile on her face. By the time Thursday came, and then they leave actually by lunchtime on Fridays, but it was just such a blessing to see the change in her. And so if you're able, pray about it, and you can sign up on this sheet back there, and our directors will get a hold of you and see where you would like to be involved if you would. But I'm going to give it back to Jim.
Okay. Well, I'm going to repeat a few of the things that Sharon had talked about. So, I'm going to kind of do a video first. So, we'll watch this little video. It's only about 5 minutes long.
Royal Family Kids creates positive, life-changing moments for children. Children who are victims of abuse, neglect, and abandonment. This is Samantha's story.
Someone called to get me out of my house, and I had no idea who it was. All I know is the police showed up at the door with social workers and caseworkers. God was there with me, and he was like, okay, it's time for this to end.
If Samantha had not been taken out of her original home, she probably would have wound up dead at some point. And nobody would have known, and nobody would have missed her, because nobody knew about her. Samantha was considered to be the worst case of abuse in Greene County, Missouri.
I remember just about everything. Memories of what my dad did to me if I close my eyes. I feel like I'm right back in that situation.
You could tell she had been an abused kid. She had lots of scars on her body, very tiny, had been malnourished. She had to eat on the floor. When she was thirsty and didn't want the parents to hear the water running, she took off the back of the toilet and scooped up water in the back of the toilet to drink.
I'd be taken to the basement to get beaten. I'd be like, am I going to get out of here alive?
When I first met her at camp, she never smiled.
Smiling wasn't normal to me. There was nothing happening in my life, so why would I need to be smiling for anybody?
By the end of the week of camp, she was smiling. We have pictures of her smiling, which was just an amazing change.
These are the first where you're just extremely happy. It was the best week of my life, my summer. For the first time in 8 years, I had fun. I'm gonna remember this because this is when I was loved. You know, this is how life should be. I am loved.
If Samantha hadn't gone to Royal Family, I just wonder, would she have the hope? Would she have had the successes? Would she have the achievement?
Honestly, without camp, I have no idea where I would have been. Would I have ended up, you know, on the streets? Without camp, you know, life would completely be different.
She was a child that should have had so many difficulties, so many problems, so many disorders to overcome. And to look at where she was and where she is today, God's just done a huge work in her life.
I'm either going in social work or teaching. I love working with kids. I want to do something working with kids.
Many times as I watched that video, I still get emotional when I watch it. And that's what we pray for, the outcome for every child that we have at Kids Camp. That their lives are transformed and changed. And you saw the pictures early on of her when she first got to camp. It was like there was nothing there. And by the end of the camp, the smiles. And we're not there to fix these children. We're there just to let them be kids, let them have a good time. And God's going to bring that out in them. He's going to take care of them. So, you know, most of our kids come from dysfunctional families. Our goal at camp is to show them a kind of a regular family atmosphere. Sharon and I are privileged to have one of the best positions at camp. We're grandma and grandpa. So that's what we do. We are grandma and grandpa at camp. We're not only grandma and grandpa to the kids, but most of the volunteers could be our grandchildren. So we're grandma and grandpa to everybody at camp. And one of our volunteers was like my age. She said, you know, I have real difficulty calling someone my age grandpa. But that's who I am at camp. We have an aunt and an uncle. So we get some special privileges just as grandma and grandpa normally get. We get to get the kids treats during the day. We do at the end of the day, our counselors are with their kiddos all day long. They sleep with them, they're in the same cabin. So at the end of the day, they get a couple hours in the evening to get showered up, de-stress a little bit. So our job, our staff, we call it dream duty. We take the campers back to their cabins, get their showers, get them ready for bed, get them settled down, do a little devotional with them if we can talk them into it. Just get them wound down. And our goal is to have them sleeping by the time the counselors get back. But we actually had, chess was a big thing in the boys' cabin this past summer. And we had one camper who wanted to learn how to play chess. One knew how to play and the other one knew how to play very well. So they started a game. And the game went on and on and on. And it was like after 9 o'clock, way past lights out. And our director was there, and he was getting ready to leave the cabin, and I said to him, what do you think about the chess game? He said, yeah, Grandpa, do what you want. Well, the chess game ended up going to about 10:30. But it was, you know, and eventually we had to kind of coach the one that didn't know how to play quite so well he ended up winning. Of course, the other camper was slightly dejected, but I took him off to the side and I said, you you realize what you did to me? He said, no. I said, and I won't use campers' names, I'll just use initials. But he had camper B something that he may use the rest of his life. He may play chess the rest of his life. You realize that's something that you do for him. That just kind of screwed everything up. So that's kind of some of the things that happen. You know, as Sharon talked, we have a lot of different activities at camp. We have a full day. I mean, we get the kiddos up about a little after 7, have breakfast at 8, and then we go right into morning activities. It can be anything from arts and crafts, archery, fishing, canoeing, bicycle riding. We have pony rides at the facility we were at this past year. Slingshots. I mean, all kind of activities that keep them busy. And then we go into what we call Breakfast Club, which is we do a Bible story that's based on the theme of whatever the theme has to be for that particular year. During that time, all the staff come in with the campers, and the counselors go to a counselor meeting where they discuss anything that they may have learned about their camper. We don't. We try to maintain the camper's privacy as much as possible. So if the counselors pick up on any, we call them triggers, something that may set a camper off, throw them into we call them meltdowns. As we learn those, we pass the word around, okay, you need to avoid doing this, so we don't set that camper off. So they discuss things like that, what's going on the rest of the day. We go to lunch. After lunch, we do another activity period, which always has to include swimming. Swimming is like our favorite activity of all. This year, the pool was really cold. We knew it was really cold because, like on Thursday, I think we only had about half a dozen of 24 kids in the swim. The pool was really cold. That's not the norm. So we'll do dinner, and then we do. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. We do 30-30 time. So 30-30 time is just a chance to give the kids an opportunity to wind down and go back to their cabins. We ask them to, it's supposed to be 30 minutes of quiet time on the bunk and 30 minutes of quiet play. It usually just ends up in an hour of play time. But, again, we're not there to hound them. This is what you have to do. Our goal is to let them be a kid for that. We can have a good time. So we do dinner, and then we do our evening activities. So every night of the week we have a different activity. Monday nights is typically a scavenger hunt. And it's basically to let the kids learn the camp. So we basically take them throughout the whole camp, different locations. Where the swimming pool is, where arts and crafts are. So we go, the scavenger hunt just takes them everywhere. They remember where the camp is. They get a little something at the end, I don't remember what it was this year. I don't recall what it was. But then we also do that evening, we'll do s'mores. The scavenger hunt will always end up at the campfire, and we do s'mores. Tuesday night is family game night. The facility we're at has an entire building with nothing but game. Ping pong, pool table, shuffleboard, you name it. So it's family game night. We all get together, play games for the evening. Wednesday is a special day at camp. Wednesday is everybody's birthday. We've had campers that have never had a birthday party, never had a birthday party. So Wednesday, everybody's birthday, we go around all day, happy birthday. We have a nice birthday party for our dinner. Of course, we cupcakes, the whole 9 yards. Thursday night, Sharon mentioned, is our talent show. For me, that's one of the highlights of the week, is the talent show. It's just amazing. This past year, every camper participated in the talent show, which is, to me, it's just amazing to get all these kiddos to. Some of them, we videotaped them while they were doing an activity. We played the video. That was their talent. But as Sharon said, it's a great night. And, it's also our last night at camp. So we try to really go out on a good time. But little story that goes along with the talent show. We had a camper that was horribly abused as a child. Both of his parents actually tried to kill him. This child was really, I mean, you can imagine the state that he's in. He was very prone to fits of rage. And he had really no control. But we're getting ready for the talent show, and one of our counselors did blue names. So he decided that's what he wanted to do for his talent, like a little balloon doll. Well, later on in the day, he found out there was another camper who was going to do the same thing. Well, that triggered him, that set him off. He got very distraught and ended up taking off. We call them runners. We have kids, whenever they get distressed, they're going to run away. Of course, we have, that's why we kind of look for some college-age students. Fortunately, his counselor was a soccer player, so he easily kept up with him. Finally got him slowed down, got him back to camp. We have a professional on staff, just for such an occasion. Got him talked down, got him calmed back down. Come the talent show, he actually sang a song that he had written about how much he loved camp. So, of course, that brought down the house, So, those are some of the things that happen. Lots of stories. Grandpa gets to do fishing. One of my favorite things to do. I love to fish, so I get to fish with all the kids. That's one of my, I won't even call it a job because I totally love it. But it was Thursday, our last day of fishing. We had about 15 minutes left in our time slot to get ready to go on to the next activity. And one of the counselors brings her camper down to me, and, well, she would like to catch a fish. Okay, so, okay, Grandpa's got a special spot. Let's go up here. We got her baited out, got her line out in the water. We're sitting there and we're talking. And no bites. And I said, maybe we need to call one in. Let's see if we can call one in. And she kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? Well, I was just sitting here and go, here, fishy, fishy, fishy. So there we are. We're sitting there calling fish. Well, sure enough, we got a bite. She caught a fish. I don't think it was any of my fish calling prowess. I think divine intervention brought that fish to her home. But she got to catch her fish for her trip at camp. So it was just one of the really bright moments for me last year at camp. But everybody has their stories like that. There's just so many of them. So, these kiddos are really broken in their relationships they've had with their family members and whatnot. And a lot of this brokenness needs to be healed with relationship. And that's our goal at camp, is to show these kiddos God's love, unconditional love. Our mantra at camp is, no matter what you say to me, no matter what you do to me, I still love you. And this is a concept that the first day at camp, these kiddos are testing us. They're seeing how far they can push. And sometimes they're kind of taken aback when we don't push back. We don't push back. We're not going to let you run rampant, but we're not going to berate you. We're going to get down on your level. We're going to get eye to eye. We're going to talk this out. What do we need to do to get this right, to make you happy? So, Sharon and I have also been blessed enough. A few years ago, there's a camp, one of the camps in Pennsylvania, it's out of Greencastle, PA, it's out Harrisburg area, just close to Gettysburg. But they had a couple, actually a few counselors back out last minute, like a week and a half or so before camp. Well, that would have been like, I think it was 6 kids who would not have been able to go to camp because of our requirements. I'll get into those in a minute here. But anyhow, they kind of put a word out to email to the other camp directors. So ended up going to camp in Greencastle that year, doing a second camp, and I got to be a counselor, which was great. I mean, compared to being on staff, like being a counselor is a piece of cake because everybody else takes care of the counselors. That's our job. The counselors take care of the children, we take care of the counselors. But it got me, I got to see a whole other side of camp. So we actually ended up going there for 3 years. Unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately, we changed facilities, and the dates we had available was like a week before the camp in Greencastle, and it's just, I felt it would be taken away from our camp because it's draining. But as Sharon said, you can't go to camp and not come back changed. I think Chuck, or anybody, I know you guys have been pretty active with missions, I think, for the last couple of years, but Chuck, I don't know any of you that's been on a mission trip, you change when you come back, or there's something different?
Most definitely.
Most definitely. I can guarantee camp will change because you're going to pour into these kiddos all week long. And it can be very taxing. But I look at Luke 6:38, and it says, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use it, it will be measured back to you." And that's so, I can say that without a doubt, my experience with Kids Camp, that every year I come back changed. It's so fulfilling. And I sum my week up at camp like this. It's the most physically exhausting, mentally taxing, spiritually fulfilling week that I can spend. It's just amazing. So, again, we're all volunteer, and we have some rules at our camp to protects us, protects the children. Last year we had 24 children, we had 42 staff. Seems like a lot, but we have one counselor for every 2 campers. So we want that intimate relationship. We have one relief counselor for every 2 counselors. So for every 2 children we take, that's 3 people. And it's to protect us. We have a rule at camp. It's our rule that can never, ever, ever be broken. It's called 2 deep. There's always 2 adults with a camper, no matter where they're at. So if we happen to be at dinner, camper has to go to the bathroom. 2 people have to go. 2 adults have to go with that child, take them down the hall. And if he's the only one in the bathroom, they're going to wait out in the hall. If there's another camper in the bathroom, we're going to have one person in the doorway with the door open, one in the hall. We're always maintaining visual sight and protecting these kiddos. They've been through enough, we don't want to put them through anything else at camp. So, again, we're all about protecting the kids. We require 12 hours of training to go to camp. And it seems, boy, that's a lot. Well, I'll guarantee you most of the stuff we teach you, you're going to use during the week. We do a debrief at the end of the week. And I've had volunteers say, well, I thought we were doing training. Man, you're really getting into a lot of stuff. He said, you know what? He said, we use it. We try to prepare our volunteers as much as we can. But all the preparation we do, and still really doesn't let you know what that experience is going to be like. I put it this way: when we get that many people, all God-loving people, all working towards the same goal, to me, I feel like it's the closest thing to heaven on earth. It is just so much of a different atmosphere. That everybody's helping everybody out. It's just a blessing. So, I think that just pretty well covers it. Camp this year is August 3rd through the 8th. We leave for camp on Sunday. Get the camp prepared. We're kind of like a traveling circus. We have like a 20-foot trailer loaded with bins that just has everything in it we use in camp. So we pull in on Sunday, we get everything set up, get ready for the kiddos to be there on Monday. We're there till Friday, we come home Friday afternoon. When we do get back, we have what's called a welcome home dinner to thank the volunteers, to thank their families for allowing our volunteers to come for the week. So we just have a dinner for everybody when they get back, and that kind of winds up our week at camp. So, again, we're rather volunteer intensive. As Sharon said, you know, we need lots of volunteers. How many children we take to camp directly bears on how many volunteers we have. So, we're looking, you know, primarily, most of our counselors are, I would say, mid-30s to down to teenagers, 18-year-old, you have to be at least 18 years old. And I call them counselors, they're really big campers. You know, we're not there to fix them, we're there to let them have a good time. So you're having a good time along with the campers. But we also have, you know, staff members like, you know, Sharon and I. We have a golf cart, of course, we ride around in, so we don't have to do a lot of walking. But, you know, we have lots of different volunteers we need at camp. We need volunteers before camp, getting everything ready to go. Sharon mentioned fundraising. After camp, if you want, like, we have tried to have people, someone come in to help out and do the welcome home dinner for us. So there's lots of availability to volunteer. And as Sharon mentioned also, every person at camp is assigned their own prayer warrior to pray for them in the weeks coming up to camp, during camp, and after camp. I don't know how you do it, because it takes me about 2 weeks to get over camp when I get back. I don't know how you go as often as what you do, Chuck. But anyhow, you have those prayer warriors. You know, you can you'll have all their contact information. You can contact back and forth by phone, email, text, however you want to do it. But there's always someone praying for you while you're at camp. So that's another way you can volunteer. So I think that pretty much covers everything I'd like to talk about. Hopefully I didn't go, well, maybe I didn't. But again, thanks for allowing us to come and speak. If you have any questions, Sharon and I will be available at the back of the room there after we're done. So, thank you so much.
Pray for you. And so I just want to encourage you, you know, there are